Well, we're back on the bench. Got a kit to build. Got the Groovesizer Red synthesizer. Comes in all the parts here. It's based on the ATmega from Atmel microcontroller, and we'll get it built up and see how it works. Alright, we got it up and running. I already tested it. Got it together, tested it. Everything seems to work on it. Need to print the manual out. There's quite a bit of settings on here. Everything went together quite smoothly. No troubles at all. It was actually pretty easy. All through hole. Some MIDI connectors here. And I just got it temporarily set up. They got it set up with a barrel connector for the power input, and I just had it attached to a 9-volt battery. It's a 9-volt input, and then just little audio output up to a little amplifier guy. So I just need to grab a barrel connector for the power. Luckily, I got one right here that actually fits it. Well, this is the finished product of the Groovesizer. Got it in its case. It's pretty simple controls. 5 switches, 5 potentiometers. Got 16 LEDs on the back. And it's all based on the ATmega, this chip here. Then you have 2 shift registers that drive all the LEDs, and then an opto oscillator or an opto coupler, voltage regulator, some couple of small components here, and that's really about it. Most of the magic happens right inside that chip there. It's all done through software, programmed. Came pre-programmed. The firmware is available on their website. You just program it right with your Arduino board or ICSP right here. On the side, you got MIDI in, MIDI out, power, audio. There we go. Got the audio and power there. And then back to the front. So I'll put some power to it, get a speaker connected to it, and kind of give a brief overview. Got a little speaker amplifier hooked up to it. Unfortunately, a little mouse amplifier battery has died in it, so I'm going to go with the old realistic amplifier. So we got power to it. I'll turn the power on. Now, when you first turn it on, nothing really happens except the LEDs start flashing. What it's doing right now is going through all the steps in the sequence. Now, because there's nothing programmed in there, there's going to be no audio output until you program it. So, in order to program, they break it down into 4 steps here. So, if you hold switch 1, you got the first 4 LEDs that light up. Now, that corresponds with these first 4 potentiometers. And then basically you just adjust. You go clockwise for higher notes, and then counterclockwise for lower notes. While you're holding switch 1, you could program the second one. Now the sound that you hear, it sounds like it's playing the same note twice. That's because it is. It's telling you what this one is playing. So if I let go, just like that. And then you can go through the other ones. So that's a real basic overview on how to get notes programmed in there. And this one over here, all the way clockwise, runs through all 16 steps. Turn it counterclockwise, it lowers it all the way down to just 1. So you can really kind of hear it here. So if I want to program a different tone in the first step, hold switch 1. A little bit higher there. Now that's just step 1, even though it's beeping several times. As soon as I let go, it plays the rest of them. Now, and then get it to stop, just double tap switch 5, which is also like the shift key. It's like a multi-purpose key. So right now it's stopped. Just so I can kind of show you here. So this is the first 4 LEDs, switch 1, or the first 4 steps. To get the second, you do that. It works the same way. You just adjust all of your potentiometers to where you need them. Third, and fourth. So you could have all through 16, and then they all program the same way. So like switch 3, this is for the first, second, third, and fourth. And then as soon as you let go, it starts playing it. So since there's nothing programmed in from here on out, we can hit switch 2. And then so on and so forth. You can program all the rest of them. Now let's just say you only want all the way up to, let's just say 8 steps. You just turn this down. And then it'll just play those. Now to speed it up, increase the tempo, you hold shift, which is switch 5, and then this last one out here controls how fast. And that's how you get it started just right away, just to make sure it works, because I was kind of a little worried that it wasn't working at first because no audio was coming out. Well, that's because you got to program it. Okay, something to also keep in mind. When you cut power and you don't have this saved, and you can save, like say I want this sequence saved, double tap. Let's say you want that saved, you have to save it before you cut the power, because as soon as you cut the power, let's turn it off, back on, it goes right back to the start. It loses all the settings unless you save them. So in here, in the bank mode, is indicated by the first and the 13th LED both being lit. Now this is still running through because the sequencer is still going. So the first, according to the manual, the first 8, we turn that, the first 8 banks are user banks. And the next 3, which is 9, 10, and 11, are preset scales, and I'll go through those here in just a second. Number 12 is user scales, so it's a user-defined scale. And then bank mode are the ones out here. I haven't messed with that at all. I'm still learning this as I go. But luckily, their manual online has a they did a really good manual on this. Very easy to understand, at least for me it is. I mean, once you start messing with it, it gets easier. So I'll start with the pre-programmed scales. So they start at 9. We bring up, okay, had to bring up that part of the manual tell me which one's which here. Okay, so we're on bank, or LED 9 is lit. So if we hit within that bank, you have 4 different scales, at least in this particular instance here. So if you go to bank 10, you get 4 completely different scales. So we'll go back to 9. I'll just go through them real quick. So if you hit switch 1, that starts the sequence. It programs all the notes in, and it automatically goes through. So the first one is chromatic. That's major. And that's minor. And that's minor harmonic. We'll move over to 10. Okay. That's pentatonic. I think I'm saying that right. I'm not a musician, so if I'm saying these wrongs, I apologize. So pentatonic major. That's pentatonic minor. Number 3 is blues hexatonic. And number 4 is blues heptatonic. Now I'll move over 1. Okay. So number 1 is, according to the manual, is major triad. This one is minor triad. Major 7th. And minor 7th. Those are all of the pre-programmed scales that come with it. So right out of the box, you could put a scale in here and just start messing with it. If you're kind of like me and you're not a musician, so you just want to make something that sounds halfway decent, you could start with this and then just adjust it from there. All right. So those are the pre-programmed ones. I didn't have to program those at all. That's the way they came. So that's 9 through 11. Bank 12, according to the manual, is user scales, and all 4 of these are user defined. And then, see if we go down here to, I think it's bank 1 through 8. So you got these 8 lights lit. Those are user defined, or not user defined. Those are user banks. So if you make a sequence that you really like, you can program that in there. So when you disconnect the power, it stays in memory. You won't lose that as long as you save it. Now, like I said earlier, if you don't save that, it will be erased. So there's a lot of several different settings, actually quite a bit of different settings on this. In this bank selection, by default, just right now, it's just going to loop one pattern. It'll just play that over and over and over again, even if you have programmed patterns in the rest of them. It does have an option on here where you could have it loop or play that one, and then go back to that one, and so on and so forth. And you could also have it to where it will randomly play different patterns. But I do kind of want to show, I got a scale program down there right now. So we can hold 5, speed that up. Another one's kind of neat is this one over here. Has a, they call it swing. You can turn that down if you want. It also has, I'm going to turn this up a little faster. This is the, now when it's just playing like this, you have control of the grain 1 pitch. grain 1 decay, grain 2 pitch, grain 2 decay. And it's kind of has an effect kind of like a low pass filter. There's all kinds of different settings. Anyway, that's that's just a really brief overview. There is a ton of other features. There's also MIDI controls, so you can connect a MIDI device, like a keyboard or something, and actually use the keyboard to program each of these steps here, which makes it a lot easier to input notes instead of having to really tweak with the dial and try and figure that out. You could just play it on a keyboard. But like I said, there is a ton of features in this thing. A lot of which I haven't really even messed with. I'm still kind of learning it as I go. But basically, the basic controls is they use this as a shift. So anytime you want to navigate through menus, you got to, press this plus shift, and that gets you into here. To get you back, you press that shift. This. So when you hold that starts it. But that gives you different controls here too. So there's quite a few different things to play around with on this. Yes, I've been messing with it for a couple days now, and me personally, you could spend quite a bit of time just goofing around, getting different tones. Kind of has a low pass filter sound to it, like a filter cutoff or something. Anyway, but it was a fun build too. Like I said, pretty easy build. The only complaints I really had with the build of it was right in here. Now, I did follow the instructions on their website, like to the T, because I wanted to see, how he's, basically the way they want it done. Then they said to put this resistor network up here for the LEDs in first, which makes sense because you want to start with the smallest components on here. So that way when you flip the board over to solder them, it's just easier. Now, the problem that it's not really a problem, just a minor complaint, is when you have this network on here and you go to solder the LEDs, there's not a whole lot of room between your solder point and this resistor network on both sides here. It's not a huge issue. I was able to do it just fine, but it was, I guess if you're not very experienced with soldering, that could be a little tricky. Other than that, everything else went on here great. The only delay, I guess you could call it delay, was these board standoffs. These guys right here, they sent the wrong size. But they were real quick on, recognizing that, and they sent out the correct size. Within a week. It was pretty quick. So for a couple of days, it was just the board. You didn't have the case, but it didn't really affect the build. But they did correct it. They sent the right ones. The only issue, somewhat of an issue, and I pretty much corrected it, was these top standoffs here are not quite long enough, so I had to use a bunch of these spacers, because without those, this plexiglass would come down and press on these buttons. And so I put those spacers in there, and of course I put the spacers in front. I have to also put some spacers on the back just to even it out a little bit. But I got it figured out. It wasn't a huge deal. So right now this kit's going for $80 at GrooverSizer.com, and I'll put the link for that in the video description. It's $80 as of January 5th, 2015. If you want them to build it for you, then just tack on another $30, so it'll bring it up to $110. But if you do that, it will come exactly like this. You don't have to solder, you don't have to do nothing. It's just ready to go out of the box. A lot of fun, a lot of features, great customer support, great website, well-documented instructions. I would definitely recommend this. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.